Her name was Dorothy Ellison. Dayton, Ohio. 1957, 31 years old, a 26-inch waist, 3 children under 10, and a pale green sedan her husband drove to work every morning, which meant Dorothy walked. Here is the detail that should stop you cold. In 1974, 17 years later, Dorothy wore the very same dress to her daughter's high school graduation that she had worn to her 10th wedding anniversary dinner. It still fit. She had never dieted, not once. Nobody in Dorothy's house counted a calorie, joined a program, or bought a shake. What she had were 10 ordinary habits that kept her body exactly where it was. 2 of them you would never guess. Number 8 will surprise you. Number 1 is the one they need you to forget. Before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what we uncover next. Item 10. 3 meals, no snacking. 6 in the evening, 1957. The kitchen smelled of pot roast and boiled potatoes. Dorothy set 3 plates down hard on the oilcloth. The children washed their hands at the cold tap. And then the kitchen closed. No light, no open cupboard, no reaching hand until morning. The American kitchen of the 50s ran on 3 fixed meals. Breakfast, dinner at noon or evening, and that was the frame. The refrigerator was small. The pantry held flour, not snacks. Here's the simple part. When food only appears 3 times a day, the body learns hunger and fullness on a clock. There is nothing to graze on between. Researchers who study eating windows now call this time restricted eating and sell it as a discovery. Today, the snack food market in America is worth over $170 billion a year. An entire industry exists to put food in your hand at every hour. Vending machines, drive-thrus, the bowl on the desk, they did not resist snacking. There was simply nothing to snack on. Item 9. Eating at the table. Noon, a Tuesday, the radio off. Forks scraping plates. Walter at the head, the 3 children along the sides, Dorothy nearest the stove. Nobody stood. Nobody wandered. The meal had a beginning and an end, and you sat through all of it. The family table was the law of the house. You ate where the food was served, and the food was served in one place. There was no television tray, because in 1957, most homes did not yet have the second set that made eating elsewhere possible. Sitting down to eat does something quiet and powerful. When you watch your food and feel each bite, your brain registers that you are full. Eat while distracted, and that signal never arrives. Now Americans eat in the car, at the desk, in front of a screen. The average meal competes with a phone. Food companies know this. Distracted eating sells more food, and more food is the whole game. She watched the food and the faces. There was nothing else to watch. Item 8. The girdle's honest report. Morning, 1958. The cool slide of the girdle up over the hips. The hooks. The pull of the laces at the waist. Dorothy felt it the way you feel a handshake. Firm, honest. Either it closed easily or it did not. The foundation garment was a daily ritual for millions of women. Brands like Playtex and Warner's sold structure and shape. A good girdle cost around $5 in 1955. Real money then. Here's the part nobody mentions. Fitted clothing is a scale you wear. When the same garment grows tight at the waist, you know within a day or two. The feedback is instant and impossible to ignore. Now look at what we wear. Stretch waistbands, leggings. Elastic that grows with you and says nothing. The athleisure market is worth over $300 billion worldwide, and every soft inch of it keeps a quiet secret from you. Her clothes told her the truth every morning. Ours never mention it. Item 7, walking everywhere. 8 in the morning, the screen door banged. Dorothy walked the 4 blocks to the butcher, the basket on her arm, then to the grocer, then home. By noon, she had walked to the school and back. Her shoes were flat and worn at the heel. One family, one car, and the man took it to work. That was the ordinary arrangement. Errands meant feet. The neighborhood was built close because everyone walked it. Walking is the oldest medicine there is. Several thousand steps a day, every day without thinking about it, burns through what you eat and keeps the body steady. No gym required, no plan. Today, we drive to a building to walk on a machine that goes nowhere. The American gym industry pulls in over $35 billion a year. We pay a monthly fee to buy back the steps the car took away. She never paid for steps. The steps were the day, and the day was free. Here is what keeps surfacing when you trace this carefully enough. None of it was effort. Dorothy was not disciplined. She was not trying. The day itself held her body in place, the way a riverbank holds a river. The walking, the table, the 3 meals, the honest clothes, they were not a program she followed. They were simply the shape of being alive in 1957. And that shape is exactly what got taken apart. Keep that in mind because at number 5, an ordinary object on the kitchen shelf turns out to be a hidden mechanism nobody noticed leaving. Item 6. Housework is movement. Wednesday wash day. The wringer washer in the basement. Dorothy hauled wet sheets, fed them through the rollers, carried the basket up the stairs, and pinned every piece to the line in the cold. Her arms ached by 10. The floors were scrubbed on her knees. The home of 1957 was a workplace. Beating rugs, hand washing, scrubbing, hanging, kneading. Hours of it, every day, all of it physical. A woman running a household in that era burned through real labor, the kind a body remembers. Movement spread across a whole day does more for the waist than a single hard hour ever could. Then the machines arrived. The automatic washer, the dryer, the dishwasher. Wonderful things. But the household appliance market is now worth over $600 billion worldwide. And every machine in it bought back an hour of your time by taking away an hour of your movement. Her housework was her workout. The machines quietly took it away. Before we continue, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and like, so more of this reaches the women who need to see it. Then stay, because number 1 is the thing, the industry most needs you not to understand. Item 5, the 9-inch plate, Sunday dinner. Dorothy reached into the cupboard for her grandmother's china, the plates with the faded gold rim. She filled one. It looked full. It was full. A mound of potatoes on a 9-inch plate is a feast. On a modern plate, it is a sad little island. The standard American dinner plate in the 1950s measured around 9 inches across. That was simply the size plates came in. Nobody chose it to lose weight. It was the plate. Here is the science, and it is almost too simple. We eat with our eyes first. A full, small plate satisfies the brain. The same food on a big plate looks like not enough, so we pile on more to make it look right. Today, the average dinner plate has grown to 11 or even 12 inches. That extra width adds room for a third to a half more food every single meal without you ever deciding to eat more. She never controlled portions. Her grandmother's china did it for free. Now, name the pattern out loud because it is the same one every time. A free practice that held the body steady, then a product that quietly removed it. Then, years later, a second product sold to fix the damage the first one caused. The car took the walking, then the gym sold it back. The machine took the movement, then the fitness class sold it back. The big plate added the food, then the diet sold the cutting back. Watch it once and you cannot stop seeing it. At number 3, the food itself, engineered on purpose, by people who knew exactly what they were doing. Item 4, no liquid calories, a glass of water from the tap, a cup of black coffee in the afternoon, bitter and hot. That was the day's drinking in most of 1957. Milk for the children, water for the thirst, nothing more. Soda existed, of course. A bottle of Coca-Cola had been around since the 1880s. But it was a treat, a nickel at the counter, bought now and then, not stocked by the case in the home. The body does a strange thing with drinks, it does not count them. Calories you swallow as liquid do not fill you the way food does, so they pour in on top of everything else, uncounted and unfelt. Now, liquid calories are everywhere. Soda, sweetened coffee, energy drinks, juice. The global soft drink industry alone is worth over $600 billion. A single sweet coffee can carry more sugar than Dorothy ate in a day. She drank water and black coffee. Nobody sold her calories in a cup. Item 3, cooking from scratch. 4 in the afternoon, flour on the board, on her hands, dusted up to the elbow. Dorothy worked the dough, set it to rise, peeled and chopped and stirred. The kitchen warmed and steamed. Dinner had been 3 hours in the making before anyone sat down. Cooking in 1957 meant starting from raw things. Frozen dinners had only just appeared, the Swanson TV dinner launching in 1953 for around 98 cents. Most meals were still built by hand from flour, meat, and vegetables. When food takes hours to make, You eat it slowly and you eat it with respect. The effort itself is a break. You do not mindlessly devour what cost you an afternoon. Today, the ultra-processed food industry is engineered for the opposite. Foods designed in laboratories to be eaten fast and never fill you, tuned to a bliss point of salt, fat, and sugar. It is a market worth well over $1 trillion, built so that nothing slows you down. The food took hours. Nothing that takes an hour gets eaten thoughtlessly. Here's the closing argument. And it is not about one villain. There was no single man in a room deciding to make us heavier. It was 1,000 commercial decisions, each one reasonable on its own. Sell a car, sell a washer, sell a bigger plate, a sweeter drink, a faster meal. Each was convenience. Each was progress. And added together, decade by decade, they dismantled an entire way of living that had kept bodies steady for free. The way of life was not improved. It was disassembled and sold back in pieces. Which brings us to number 1, the practice of needing no industry at all. When I started researching this, I assumed Americans ate almost no sugar in the 50s and drowned in it today. That is not quite what the data shows. The amount we eat did rise, but the bigger change was who held the spoon. Sugar left the sugar bowl, where the cook measured every spoonful and saw exactly what went in, and disappeared invisibly into 10,000 products before anyone could see it. Item 2. Sugar, then and now. The sugar bowl sat on Dorothy's table, white and lidded. She knew its weight in her hand, a spoon in the coffee, a cup in the cake. Sugar was an ingredient she added herself by hand in plain sight, and she could feel the bag empty over the month. Sugar in the home was a visible thing you bought, stored, and measured. When you spoon it yourself, you know exactly how much you use because your own hand is doing it. The body has no break for hidden sugar. When it is added to bread, to sauce, to things that are not even sweet, you eat far more than you ever would knowingly because you never see it go in. Today, added sugar hides in the majority of packaged foods on the shelf. Bread, ketchup, salad dressing, yogurt. The cook no longer holds the spoon. A factory does, and it pours with a heavier hand than any grandmother ever would. She knew her sugar. She spooned it in. Now strangers pour it. Item 1. The diet industry itself. 1957. There was no word for what Dorothy did because she did nothing. No program, no points. No weekly weigh-in at a church basement. No book on the nightstand. No powder in a tin promising to replace her breakfast. The very idea would have puzzled her. You ate your meals, you walked your errands, you cleaned your house, and your body was simply your body. The modern diet and weight loss industry in America is worth somewhere around $90 billion a year. Weight Watchers was founded in 1963, just after Dorothy's prime. Slim Fast arrived in the 1970s. The shelves of diet books, the meal plans, the apps, the shakes. None of it existed in her kitchen because none of it had been invented to sell. And here's the verdict. That industry could only be born after the free version was taken away. You cannot sell someone walking until you have sold them the car that ended it. You cannot sell someone portion control until the plate has quietly grown. You cannot sell a breakfast shake until the 3-meal day is gone. Every product in that $90 billion industry is a paid replacement for something Dorothy got for nothing, simply by living an ordinary day in an ordinary town. Dorothy never bought any of it. She did not have to. The world she lived in did the work, and it did not send a bill. There was no diet industry because there was nothing to sell. Dorothy lived to 88. She died in 2014. In all those years, she never once joined a program, bought a shake, or followed a book, and her body stayed near where it had always been for 60 years. Her daughter, raised in the world of cars and supermarkets and dishwashers and 12-inch plates, spent a meaningful part of her adult life on Weight Watchers, on Slim Fast, on a shelf of diet books, paying year after year for the slimness her mother had received for nothing. The dress is still in the cedar chest. The same green dress that fit a 31-year-old in 1957 and a 48-year-old in 1974, folded now beside a small stack of her daughter's old Diet Club receipts. The daughter found it last winter. She held it up against herself in the mirror. She set it down. 10 habits. Not one of them needed a subscription, a budget, or a 10-step plan. Walking, the family table, the small plate. Food made by hand. They were not replaced because something better arrived. They were replaced because something more expensive did. The world that kept Dorothy slim was taken apart and sold back to her daughter one product at a time. So tell me, which of these did your mother or grandmother actually use, and which one are you going to try